everyone to the Focus TV. It's season 7, episode 3. Got Octavia Wyatt here, Raymond Lyons, Cardo W. Jr. I'm Wilson Tarpe Jr. Now, gonna get straight to it. Every week that goes by, we're rapidly speeding through the NFL season. College basketball, we're already a couple weeks in there. You got some of the early season tournaments, both on the men's and the women's side. You got some folks that already got some upsets happening, that have happened rather. And then, Ray's going to keep you guys updated on what the Wizards have been up to as of late. We're going to start with Octavia, though, in the NFC East.
Yeah, it's crazy that we just finished week 11. Like, the season is flying by, it feels like, as well as the year, because, we're basically at Thanksgiving now. But yeah, this week we have 3 games with 2 of the NFC teams playing against each other. But I figured why not start with the easiest thing to do? We'll talk about the Dallas Cowboys and what I believe Stephen A. Smith said was their 3rd bye week of the season. Dallas played against Carolina. What's funny is I have a lot of friends from North Carolina, and a lot of them, gripe about the Panthers a lot. And some of them went to the game, and it was just overwhelmingly Dallas Cowboys fans in Charlotte. Not a great look, but Dallas had a pretty easy day playing against the Carolina Panthers. They won 33-10. Dak Prescott was 25 of 38, 189 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 carries for 6 yards, 0 sacks, so he stayed clean in this game. Tony Pollard had 12 carries for 61 yards and 1 touchdown and 4 receptions for 19 yards. Brandon Cooks, 3 receptions, 42 yards, 1 touchdown. Rookie, I skipped one, but CeeDee Lamb had 6 receptions for 38 yards and 1 touchdown. And Luke Schoonmaker had 2 receptions, 23 yards, and 1 touchdown. I don't think Brandon Cooks had a touchdown, so that might have been a typo. Sorry about that. He did not. So no touchdown on Brandon Cooks. Excuse me. But yeah, before we even talk about the game, I feel like we should talk about the one thing that Cowboys fans have probably been dying for the last 25,000 years. Cowboys owner Jerry Jones will finally induct former Dallas head coach Jimmy Johnson into the Cowboys Ring of Honor. It was the funniest announcement I ever heard as well. It kind of tells you that Jerry, it's about time to let it go, because he said they were going to induct him on December 30th, 1923. And I was like, well, damn, how you going to do that? But Jimmy correctly corrected him and said 2023. So congratulations to him. We all know that he should have been in there. I'm sure plenty Cowboys fans are like, maybe the curse is lifted at this point, because, it was just blasphemy that he wasn't in their Ring of Honor. So congratulations to him. But yeah, that was probably the most exciting thing about the Cowboys this week, just because, they played against the Panthers. It's just been, I don't have words, because they're winning the games they're supposed to win. That's all you can say. Last year it was a lot of talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and their schedule, and it was a cupcake, and you got to play the games that are in front of you, and that's what the Cowboys are doing. Can we talk about Deron Bland, which is ridiculous? He returned his 4th interception for a touchdown this season to tie an NFL mark shared by Eric Allen. And there's still 6-7 more games left in the season. So who knows if he's going to be able to, I would probably put my money on the fact that he'll break the record. He has more touchdowns than some offensive players this year. I think they said he either has more or tied with Jalen Waddle. There was a list of other players that are on the offensive side of the ball that he has more touchdowns than. I think he even has more touchdowns than his teammate, Tony Pollard, which is wild. But yeah, he's playing out his mind, especially, with the loss of Trayvon Diggs earlier in the season. That was a big question mark for them. How would they be able to bounce back from that injury? And he's been a ball hawk, so going forward, whatever teams play against him, I suggest you throw the ball away from him. But they're pretty good on the other side too, so pick your poison at this point. But the pick 6 are plentiful for him. If you want to say anything bad about the game, Carolina hung around for a little while. I think at one point it was like 17-10 in either the second or third quarter, when you were expecting for Dallas to pretty much blow them out from beginning to end. But again, it's a football game. There are professionals on both sides of the field for both teams. And at the end of the day, they did what they needed to do. I mean, I guess the most concerning thing will be one thing that kind of comes up and down sometimes with the Dallas Cowboys is just their run defense. They allowed 250-yard rushers in this game for Carolina, especially Miles Sanders, who's had a terrible year. I mean, he's been terrible. He's been benched. Chuba Hubbard's come in for him, but him and Chuba Hubbard both had 50 yards, Miles with 50 and Chuba with 57. So, I mean, that would be the only thing that you could think of. But, I mean, it's I would assume they probably took it a little easy. You know, it's a light day when it comes to playing against arguably the worst team in the league. So, can't really fault them for that. But the Cowboys are looking to be 9-3 in the season coming up. This is the 14th time they've been 7-3 or better since 1989. And they've made the playoffs 12 of those previous 13 times. Speaking of, you know, the previous bye weeks they've had, they just had a bye week and they will have another bye week. It's going to be a short bye week. But they'll have another bye week this week. They'll play against the Commanders on Thanksgiving. And it's probably not going to be a fun trip for the Commanders, who is coming off another loss to the New York Giants. I don't know how we got here. I know last week I said shut the whole season down. I don't want to see them on TV no more. Here they are again for whatever reason. But as I tell you guys a lot, these interdivision games sometimes are wild. And for the past couple of years, it's been that way when it comes down to the New York Giants and the Washington Commanders. Last year, they tied a game. Then there was controversy on the other one. And this year, as dismal as the New York Giants have been, they were able to get their third win of the season, their second against the Washington Commanders. They defeated the Washington Commanders 31-19. On the New York side, Tommy DeVito, we can actually call him by his actual name now. He was 18 of 26, 246 yards, 3 touchdowns, 1 carry for 7 yards. But check this, 9 sacks. He was sacked 9 times, and they still won the game. We'll get to that. Saquon Barkley had 14 carries for 83 yards and 4 receptions for 57 yards for 2 touchdowns. And Darius Slayton had 4 receptions for 82 yards and 1 touchdown. On the other side, for the Washington Commanders, excuse me, Sam Howell was 31 of 45. That's a terrible picture. He probably feels like that a lot. 31 of 45, 255 yards, 1 touchdown, 3 interceptions, 3 carries for 35 yards and 1 rushing touchdown. And he was sacked 4 times, as this is one of those times. Brian Robinson Jr. had 17 carries for 73 yards and 7 receptions for 58 yards. And Jahan Dotson had 3 receptions for 23 yards and 1 touchdown. I mean, it was just bad. If you want to give some kudos to the Washington Commanders team, you know, after the departures of Montez Sweat and Chase Young, the game after they left, their pass defense and their rushing defense wasn't that great. But they kind of stepped it up in this game again, sacking DeVito 9 times, 1 shy of a franchise record, as 7 players posted at least 1 sack apiece. So there's that when it comes to this game. But their pass coverage, again, continues to not be great. They allowed Tommy DeVito, 246 passing yards. Somebody who 2 weeks ago, the New York Giants wasn't even let throw the ball at all. And he completed big completions on 3rd and long, as well as 3 touchdown passes. So he definitely had, if you want to call his breakout game. I am not for everybody saying it looks like the Giants might have something in Tommy DeVito. Stop it. Absolutely not. It's not going to happen. But, you know, for the rest of the season, you know, it's got to at least be a pick-me-up from what they've been going through with the record that they still have. They're still 3-7 now. So it's still not a great look for them currently. But I mean, on the good side, their defense forced 5 turnovers and received strong performances from Dexter Lawrence, Kayvon Thibodeau, Bobby Okereke, as well as Xavier McKinney. Um, I mean, Kayvon Thibodeau has been playing pretty decent. You know, it's hard to really pay attention to him just because of the record. It's really hard to watch the Giants team if you don't have to. But he's been quietly having a pretty decent year. Saquon Barkley has been doing everything as he did last year, as he did this year when he was healthy, and is making a case again for a long-term deal in by running back standards. Um, Although their rushing wasn't great during this game, the Giants rushed for 0 yards until the final play of the third quarter. Saquon had -2 yards up until then, and then he had a 36-yard gain. Of course, you want to see more consistency, but you know, Saquon's been doing everything he could. If he couldn't rush the ball, he got open and he made amazing catches. You know, he had a sideline catch where he definitely had to do some toe dragging to make sure that he got his feet in, and he did. And catching the 2 touchdowns is vital for them to win this game. And you know, it's a little bit of a pick me up, you know, to be as bad as they were, you know, me calling to shut the whole season down, which I'm still not that far off of. Um, Not bad. But they still, as we talk about every year, need to get their offensive line together. I know this year they've had some injuries as well, but 9 sacks is ridiculous. I don't know how Tommy DeVito is still standing at this point. Coming into Sunday, the Giants have allowed 54 sacks in 10 games. Um, I mean, it doesn't matter who's under center. It makes sense. Think about it. Daniel Jones out for the season. Tyrod Taylor, who knows if he'll be back at this point. He was also injured behind that offensive line. They have to get this together. The only bad point for them in this game really is that it took them out of the running for the top 2 picks of the draft. I don't know how they feel about that. It's not supposed to tank, but it happens. So we'll see. They have a semi good chance in their next game. They'll play against the Patriots, who also has been having a pretty terrible season by Patriot standards, of course. On the other side, though, the Washington Commanders, I don't know how you lose to the Giants twice in a season where they were playing as bad as they were. It just is not really a good look for them. It just wasn't good. So I mean, they had 6 turnovers, and the Giants were able to turn those into 24 points. So if you think about it, if they cut back on their turnovers in their game, they probably would win this game. You can't win a game with 5-6 turnovers in a game. It happens, I would assume, but it's not likely. And then there was another interesting stat. The Commanders were the first team since 1984 to have 9+ sacks in one game and lose by double digits. I mean, the NFC East always has some crazy stat when it comes down to things like this. And I mean, I feel like I've talked about it a lot. The end is near for Ron Rivera. As I've said multiple times this year, he looks completely disinterested in anything that's going on. It's just bad. The Commanders, after 11 games during Ron Rivera's era, in 2020 they were 4-7. In 2021 they were 5-6. In 2022 they were 6-5, and this year they're 4-7. In the 61 games, Washington has been tied or behind in 43 of those games, which is 71%, including 8 of 11, which is 73% this year, and have led wire to wire in only 5 games. The defense is not defensing. The offense is not offensing. Pretty much every Commander fan that I've heard is ready for the Ron Rivera era to end and for him to take Jack Del Rio with him on their way out of the DMV. Who knows if that will happen sooner than later. Again, they're going to have another test this week playing on Thanksgiving. So they're going to have a short week after a loss to the New York Giants, which is a divisional rival, to go play another divisional rival in their home on Thanksgiving, primetime TV. It's not easy. And then to add insult to injury, after the game, The Giants and the Commanders locker rooms at FedEx Field had no hot water for showers. A Commanders official said we had an equipment failure in the main water heater that provides hot water to the field level locker rooms. We can't resolve the matter without completely shutting off water to the stadium, which is why it couldn't be repaired in game. I mean, to lose to the Giants and then you can't even take a hot shower. It's these things write itself. We know they have new ownership. I've seen the tweets. Magic Johnson, Josh Harris, I'm sure is not happy. And they're 1-4 on their home games, despite all of them being sellouts. So you Commander fans, you have hope, even though I'm pretty sure a lot of those sellouts were not Commander fans. They were teams of whoever they were playing against was also probably a heavy contributor to those sellouts. But yeah, I'm gonna pray for you. I think it'll get better eventually, but it's just not looking too good so far this season, especially losing a game when you're trying to really get into the wild card race. And this just sets you back again, and you're looking possibly being at 4-8 next week going against the Dallas Cowboys. So it's a tough day in the DMV for Washington Commanders. Last but not least, the reason I'm here, because I would not be here for any other reason. The Philadelphia Eagles played against the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me tell you, it drove me crazy all week getting up to this game just because I'm so tired of seeing the Super Bowl rematch. Super Bowl rematch. We got to play all the clips from last year's Super Bowl. I don't want to see it. But now we have new replays and clips to play. The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Kansas City Chiefs 21-17. Jalen Hurts was 14 of 22, 150 yards, 1 interception, 12 carries, 29 yards for 2 rushing touchdowns, and was sacked 5 times. DeAndre Swift, not Taylor Swift, DeAndre Swift, had 12 carries for 76 yards, 1 touchdown, and 3 receptions for 31 yards. And good old reliable Devontae Smith had 6 receptions for 99 yards. It's worth noting that A.J. Brown had 1 reception for 8 yards. He was clearly the focus of the Kansas City defense, and that was evident. It was also difficult not having Dallas Goedert as another threat. You can see they did a lot of three wide receiver sets with Devontae, AJ. Sometimes it was Julio, sometimes it was Zacchaeus. Just trying to get some people open. The secondary has been an issue, as we all know. They have been gashed by teams. We just talked about Sam Howell having 3 interceptions, as bad as he played in the last game. He lit up the Philadelphia Eagles when they played in the 2 games that they had. But this might have been the best the secondary has played this year. And that's a stretch because the secondary wasn't that great in this game either. Philadelphia entered Monday night with the 5th worst pass defense in the NFL, allowing 248.1 yards allowed per game, which is a lot. But they were able to limit Patrick Mahomes to 177 yards, shut the Chiefs out in the second half. This is either the 2nd or 3rd straight game for Kansas City where they have not scored a point in the second half. Last week, when they did it in Germany, well, not last week because they were on a bye as well, but the week before that, when they were in Germany, same thing. They just had more points in the first half where they were able to pull out the win against the Dolphins. Kansas City, I feel like it's the one thing they talk about a lot with them. We know what Travis Kelce can do. We know the type of player that he is, but who else is going to step up for them? Yes, I'm very happy that their wide receivers dropped a lot of passes. I'll say it. It's a part of the game. For anybody that says, well, the only reason they lost is because so-and-so dropped this pass. They dropped it. They dropped it for whatever reason. Either their hand-eye coordination isn't great, or maybe they were a little bit nervous about the person that was right behind them. You never know. So, yeah, it happens. But this was probably the best performance for the secondary, knowing that they have a lot of new pieces back there or pieces that are coming off of injuries as well. Bradley Roby, who just signed to the team not too long ago, he was injured. He came back in this game. Newly acquired Kevin Byard, who came from the Titans. He's still getting acclimated, and they both made game-changing plays in this game. Kevin Byard with the interception in the end zone, as well as Bradley Roby with the punch out on Travis Kelce in the red zone. Both of those plays were needed, and they helped to make sure that the Chiefs did not score in the second half while the offense tried to get started. Yeah, Devontae Smith, he could be a one on any other team. I mean, I call him 1A, 1B, even though we know AJ is that guy. But Devontae Smith, he had a 41-yard catch midway through the fourth quarter that set up a go-ahead score. He's coming off posting 299-yard receiving performance in his past 3 games. He's very upset that he keeps getting 99 and not 100. But as long as they win the game, that's all that matters. I expected a little bit more from the rush defense. The unit ranks first in the NFL coming into the game, allowing 66.3 yards per game. And that was out the window in the first half. They yielded a season high 168 yards on the ground, 121, which came in the first half. But the good thing is I feel like Sean Desai, defensive coordinator, is starting to get a handle on adjustments. It seems like in the first half, maybe they get hit in the mouth, but they're able to go back in the locker room at halftime and adjust and be able to come out, better when they come back in the second half. They gave up 336 total yards, but they did hold the Kansas City offense to 8 of 17 on third downs and 2 and 4 in the red zone. With the Chiefs going 3 straight trips without any points. So he's definitely, starting to kind of get his footing. I also think the same a little bit for Brian Johnson. He's definitely had some up and downs this year, being a first-time play caller, first-time offensive coordinator. Philadelphia was 3-11 on third downs, but they still managed to win the game. And, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. All across sports media and news, you're going to hear, but it wasn't how it looked last year. Are the Eagles as good as they were last year? I don't think so. It doesn't look the same. Doesn't matter. Win is a win, especially with a team where I feel and they feel that they haven't played their best game yet this season. To still be 9-1, best record in the league, is admirable. You got to play the teams in front of you. And just a little last thing for Jalen Hurts. He had his 34th rushing touchdown of his career, passing Cam Newton for the most by a quarterback in his first 4 seasons. So if he can't throw the ball, he's going to run it. We know he's had some issues with the knee this year. I believe he had a sleeve on during this game as well. But it hasn't slowed him down. So they've been having a good game. I think the offensive line is going to get a little bit short up as well. Cam Jurgens just came back off of injury as well. So hopefully they'll be able to protect Jalen a little bit more. The 5 sacks was a little bit much, in my opinion. But they're definitely going to have another test this week coming up. They're in the gauntlet part of their schedule. They're going to be playing against the Buffalo Bills, who, we know they lost not too long ago to another team. But they did defeat the Jets this past week. And thank God I had their defense on my fantasy team because they annihilated them. But can't have their defense have a repeat of that this week if the Philadelphia Eagles are going to want to win this game. So it's definitely going to be some good games this week. Starting on Thursday on Thanksgiving, there are 3 games. So looking forward to it. I'm sad because I feel like the season is going by so fast. And I feel like we're getting closer and closer to not having football, which makes me sad. But I'm excited that we're really getting into the nitty-gritty of the season and the schedule, and where a lot of these games are going to make and break people's chances of playoffs and Super Bowl aspirations.
All right, going from the NFL, I'm going to switch gears, headed over to the NBA. Ray, what's going on with the Washington Wizards?
Man, oh man. Wizards are currently on a 6-game losing streak, the most recent of which was to the Milwaukee Bucks last night. All things considered, this was probably the best the Wizards have competed the entire season. Which is a fairly low bar when people are just simply celebrating effort and competitiveness. But this is where we are. It's a far cry from what we've been seeing, and they did against one of the top tier teams in the conference. So I mean, it's something positive to take away from that. But still, at the end of the day, they're sitting at 2-11, 2-11. And it's just been multiple games where they did not resemble a professional basketball team. But they fought this game. They weren't able to come away with the victory. Milwaukee just put the screws to them down the stretch and pulled away. But that at least it was good to see the fight in them. Kuzma's probably his best game of the season. He was very under control, made great decisions with the basketball. Um, had his season high in assists. Uh, so some positive things to take away that they can build on moving forward. But overall, man, the things that plagued them, they've been getting destroyed on the boards. Every game, and last night was no exception. They got out rebounded 55-27. Milwaukee feasted on second chance points like many other teams have. They got to figure that out. They can't leave Gaff just to battle and fight for his life by himself every night. They got to make a dedication to rebound collectively as a team, because even the possessions where they do play stellar defense, they don't finish it off. Team gets the offensive rebound and gets second chance opportunity. So if you're going to do that, you might as well just let them score the first time, because you can't you can't end the defensive possession until you secure the ball. And with them struggling to get teams off the offensive glass, it's not going to matter. How good defense they play if they can't finish the possession off. But yeah, they got to turn it around at some point, or if they continue like this, like Ardell says, man, they're going to be a historically bad team because they're having a historically bad start. So they got to find something to plant their flag on and turn the season around. They got Charlotte tomorrow. In Charlotte, they had a back to back against the Hornets already this season. They split, and Mark Williams just had his way. Again, man, they got to get tough on the interior. They got to hustle more. They got to get rebounds, and they got to defend, and they got to take care of the basketball. If they do those things, they'll put themselves in a much better position. And they also go visit Milwaukee again on Friday, and then they have Atlanta at home on Saturday. So, I mean, it's not getting any easier. They got to tighten their bootstraps and get to work, because the way they've been losing games is just unacceptable. If they would have been able to replicate the effort they showed last night against some other teams, maybe that win-loss looks a little more even. But the past is the past. They squandered those opportunities. All they can do is move forward. So and Charlotte's been playing well as of late. They beat Boston last night. So yeah, man, they're not doing themselves any favors by how they started this season. But all they can do is move on from here and hope things get a little more positive.
As Ray said, they still have a couple more games this week. So you guys, to tap in with us weekly with his outlook, we will be speaking to y'all several more times this week. I think once before Thanksgiving, one afterwards. As Ray said, all you guys is, at least we know it's proof that you can compete. Just do it every night, right? It's crazy that that's a request, but we are where we are. We're going to take our first break. When we get back, we're moving to the college side of basketball. You're watching the Focus TV. We will return in just a second. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, going to jump over to our college basketball segment. Cardell, the floor is yours.
Yes, sir. George Washington, they're off to a hell of a start this season. On Saturday, they overcame a slow start to defeat visiting New Hampshire 79-67 for their fourth straight victory. GW was ice cold to begin the game, and they literally missed 13 of their first 15 shots, which resulted in them being down 22-29. which so far this season is the largest deficit for George Washington. Then they found a rhythm, led by a pair of redshirt freshmen and Darren Buchanan Jr. and Gary Johnson, both local products. Darren Buchanan Jr. went to Wilson High School, and Gary Johnson went to Episcopal. The Revolutionaries went on a 18-0 run. Ultimately taking a 35-30 halftime lead. As the second half started, GW made his first 7 shots to take his largest lead of the game, 50-36. New Hampshire rallied behind the time scoring of Lamar Robinson and Jackson Baker to close the gap to 55-54 with 11:19 remaining. From there, James Bishop, woke up. Up to that point, he was facilitating, giving everyone the ball. They had offensive rhythm, so there's no need for him to get aggressive quite yet. But the guys started cooling off, and New Hampshire made their run to cut their deficit to 1. Bishop woke up. He scored 12 of GW's next 14 points to give them a 68-61 lead. New Hampshire got no closer in the final 5 minutes to cap off GW's first 4-0 start since the 15-16 season. Gary Johnson led the Revolutionaries with his first ever career double-double, scoring 18 points and pulling down 10 rebounds, also shooting 4-7 from deep. Bishop finished with 14 points, 8 assists, and 7 rebounds, while Max Edwards added 12 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, and Darren Buchanan added 10 points and 6 rebounds. Also, Gary Johnson was once again named A10 Rookie of the Week in as many weeks to begin his career. The A10 announced. Johnson had 2 wins over Hofstra and obviously New Hampshire, averaged 16.5 points, 9 rebounds, 1 block, and 1 steal while shooting 50% from the floor, 42% from deep, and 86% from the free throw line. Through 4 games, Johnson has been GW's leading scorer at 17.3 points per game and rebounded at 8.3 rebounds per game. He ranks 3rd in the league in field goal percentage at 59% and 3-point percentage at 50%. And he ranks 4th in rebounding and 5th in free throw percentage at 92.3%. GW, they'll put their 4-0 record on the line later this week in the Bahamas. They're playing in a 3-game tournament, which begins on Friday. They will take on Ohio at 7 p.m.
All right, moving on to Maryland women's basketball. Just give me a second to switch this up. And it is that time of year, Cardell. We got the Thanksgiving tournaments, college basketball.
Yep.
The thing everybody loves, the three games in 3 days.
Yep, it's going on right now. Now the invitation.
All right, with Maryland, they had a rough week. They had it's not another way to say it. I wish I could find better words for it, but we don't really do that here. They won their home opener. We knew what they had on their schedule. They had South Carolina. They had UConn. We know what happened in South Carolina, up in Stores. Maryland was in it for much of the first half. Cheyenne Sellers picked up her 3rd foul. She went to the bench. Paige came back in after getting knocked out the game for a second, and she sparked a 30-6 Connecticut run. And that's pretty much what happened up in Connecticut. I know on Wizards Outlook sometimes we talk about there's only so much you can analyze. They had 2 poor showings on the road against 2 top-ranked teams. And if you do that, that's what leads to those types of results. It's really that simple. And neither one of those performances is what you expect from a veteran-laden Maryland team. Obviously, this lineup hasn't played together that much, but you got grad players in here. You got seniors. You got juniors. This shouldn't be the case. You see here against Syracuse after their 2 losses, their 2 tough losses on the road. They came back home and you could have got rocked by Syracuse. They didn't, so I give them credit for that, just mentally staying with it. It was a hard-fought game. Syracuse did not go away. The Terps fell behind in the second quarter, and they rallied in the second half. A lot of that had to do with Ali Kubek's 23 points to 8 rebounds. Off the bench, Cheyenne Sellers added 19 points, 3 assists. She also had 5 steals. Bree McDaniel came up with the game-sealing steal, which you guys will see in just a bit, to go along with her 12 points and 5 assists. She had 2 other steals prior to that as well. Bree McDaniel, this is her sophomore season, so it's good to see her take a step forward. This group needs all hands on deck. Lavender Briggs added 10 points and 6 rebounds as well. Syracuse was led by Georgia Woolies, 21 points. Daisha Fair had 14 points, and 5 players scored in double figures for the Orange. Maryland's now 2-2 on the year as they head to the Cancun Challenge, where they'll face 24th ranked Washington State, followed by Green Bay, and then UMass. That's 3 games in 3 days, as Cardell was just mentioning with the GW men's. Then Maryland returns home to host Niagara on the 29th of November. Something else that happened during this, those back-to-back losses against top 10 opponents, Maryland saw a streak come to an end as they have been ranked in the AP Top 25 for 251 consecutive weeks, second longest in women's basketball behind Connecticut. That streak spanned 13 years, which speaks to the level of success the program has had under Coach Freeze. Respect to them for that run. But look, that is done, and it's up to them to start a new run. I'm sure they're eager to start it, but look, that's part of what goes with scheduling 2 top 10 teams in the first 4 games of the season. You don't take care of business, and even if you didn't, say you don't win them, but in the fashion that you lost them, I'm not shocked that you're out of the 25. I know some fans might feel differently, but it goes with the territory. It's Maryland shall be okay. It's just getting back to playing to their standard. Those 2 games, both against South Carolina and Connecticut, they didn't play to their standard, and it caught up to them. It's that simple. End of the day, you're 2-2. You go down to Cancun, you handle business, get back, a couple more tune-up games, and it's conference play time. It's that simple. And we'll see how things go. But shout out to Maryland for responding and getting out of that game against Syracuse. You're going into Cancun feeling way different, spiraling almost even at 1-3 versus 2-2, coming off those 2 big losses to top 10 opponents. So, Cardell, we will take a break when we get back. See what you got for us in rapid fire. You are watching the Focus TV. We will be right back. Welcome back to the Focus TV. As promised, rapid fire. What you got for us this week, Cardell?
Yeah, man. A lot of football stuff. But we're gonna start on up there in Pittsburgh. News that came out that the Steelers have relieved in battle offensive coordinator Matt Canada of his duties. Mike Tomlin announced earlier this morning. He said, "I appreciate Matt's hard work and dedication. I wish him the best moving forward in his career." Canada became the face of Pittsburgh offensive struggles over the course of this season, culminating in a Sunday's 13-10 loss to the Browns. With 15 total touchdowns on the season, the Steelers have the second worst mark in the NFL, tied with the Titans and Patriots, and they're ahead of only the Jets. That's him. The team is in the bottom 5 in the NFL points, yards, and passing yards per game, and has been outgained in every game so far this season. Sheesh. Even so, at 6-4, they remain in the heart of the playoff race, especially with major injuries at quarterback to the division rival Bengals and Browns. I'll tell you, we're going to start with you. Do you agree with the move? Did he deserve more time, or was it well overdue?
Yeah, so I agree with it because to me it's not 100% the same, but it's similar to what happened in Buffalo with Ken Dorsey. Somebody got to take the fall. You can't get rid of, Kenny Pickett at this point because I believe he shares some of the blame as well. But like you said, they were in the thick of the playoff race, and they're quickly falling out of that. They have to do something if they feel like they're going to have a chance this year. And I mean, it's kind of crazy, but a lot of times when things get shook up like this, you see, some marginal change. Maybe it's not lasting, but it kind of puts a fire under everybody. I think it's also good for their locker room. Hearing the comments of Najee Harris after the game, they all feel it. They know they can't continue to win the way that they were winning. I mean, I believe they've been outgained in almost every game they played this year and still found ways to win. which is crazy. They're not giving their ball to their best wide receiver in George Pickens, which is also crazy. Jalen Warren has been, he's been on as of late. We know the struggles that Najee has had, but we know that some of it has been due to the offensive line, even though it looks like Jalen's able to get through. But yeah, I mean, it had to happen. I think they said this might be like one of the only times they really fired somebody mid-season. I might be wrong. I might be thinking of somebody else, but it, the fact that they are where they are, especially with the losses of the Bengals situation as well as the Browns situation, they have an opportunity to be able to really work their way up in the AFC standings, knowing that a lot of teams are still kind of jumbled through. We talk about the Bills. The Bills, they were on a spiral downward. Granted, they won this last week against the Jets, but they still have a gauntlet of a schedule to come up as well. So they have opportunities to be able to be solely minted in the AFC playoff race. So they definitely had to do something. It was the obvious thing. I mean, everybody in Pittsburgh was calling for it. I think I saw a clip of like a Penguins game and they were like, fire Matt Canada, like at the Penguins game. And it's unfortunate, you never want to see, for somebody's livelihood, of course, to get fired from a position that helps them put food on the table for their family. But if it's not performing well, it's a business and you gotta move on. I don't think it was all on him, but somebody had to bite the bullet, and unfortunately it just had to be him.
Oh no, Ray.
Yeah, excuse me. I agree. Somebody had to go, and yeah, he got judged in the court of public opinion, and that was that, and it's not like there's any evidence as to why he shouldn't have been let go. You just rattled off the infutility of their offense. So it is what it is. Sports is a results-based business. Happens all the time. Like Octavia said, sometimes these situations kind of give a team in this position a shot in the arm, and they're able to, to springboard into something positive. It remains to be seen if that will happen in this case, but yeah, man, the sky's blue. Things like this happen, man. Like, and their offense stunk, so somebody had to go.
Wilson.
I think he should be happy that Pittsburgh is a really patient organization that takes their time with how they do things. If there was other teams in the league or other franchises without, it's a story franchise and there's a certain way they go about their business. He might not have made it out of week 3 or week 4. Bro, this defense is holding them alive by, like, at some point, your group has to do their job. Mike Tomlin, you're a bad man as a coach to have this group at 6-4 when your offense actively sabotages each and every week. Your offense can't even be on the field long enough to give your defense time to rest, to go back out there and try to score. Like, you're not asking your defense to just get stops. They often have to go score and win the game. Bruh, do something. There are far worse units as a whole from a talent perspective in this league than George Pickens, Deontay Johnson, Najee Harris, Jalen Warren. There's worse offensive lines. You have not one but 2 tight ends. You somehow have found a way to not be able to use the incredible Hulk-looking tight end you have in Darnell Washington. I don't know why this is difficult for you. This is a man who's been able to hold up in pass protection against elite pass rushers. Lord knows what he might do against linebackers and safeties. 6'7", 265 over there, and you're just twiddling your thumbs. Bro, they just need, like, the defense is playing so good, they're asking for 20 points. They're not asking you to lead the league at 30. Just 20 points. I feel like the bar is in where, and they went 10 weeks before they were like, you had 10 weeks. They in the playoff race while only getting 2 of the 3 phases of football. every week. And I'm sorry, usually one of those phases is it's not offense that's lacking consistently for 10 weeks. That's crazy. It was deserved, and hopefully they figure something out. Hopefully they got somebody on staff that can get something out of this group. But the sad part is, even if somebody gets something out of this group and it's enough for them to win consistently, we don't even know if that person's like, we're not even asking that person to set the world on fire. The Steelers are giving up on defense. I'm sorry. Where is it at? They are giving up a whopping 19.5 points a game. 19. Bro, if you get 21, you're winning. It's like 3 more wins. Just 21. Not asking you to do anything crazy. But, hey, so I think it was a long time coming, and kudos to Pittsburgh. Takes their time doing what it is that they do, man. But to not be able to get 20 points is crazy with that group.
All right, staying on the football side, Tom Brady had a lot to say about the state of the modern NFL. Brady appeared on the Stephen A. Smith show this weekend, blasted the league from being less than what it has been, focusing on the mediocrity that he feels exists now and that didn't when he first started playing in the NFL. Quote, I think there's a lot of mediocrity in today's NFL. I don't see the excellence I saw in the past. I think the coaching isn't as good as it was. I don't think the development is as good as it was. The rules have allowed a lot of bad habits to get into the actual performance of the game. I just think the product, in my opinion, is less than what it has been. Brady's focus seemed to be on a change in how the game is officiated. While the stated goal of most of those rules changes have been to keep players healthy, Brady believes the changes have limited great defensive players from emerging and have harmed the game overall. So I look at a lot of players like Ray Lewis and Rodney Harrison and Ronnie Lott. Every hit they made would have been a penalty, Brady said. You hear coaches complaining about their own player being tackled. Why don't they talk to their player about how to protect themselves? We used to work on the fundamentals of those things all the time. Now they're trying to regulate all the time. Offensive players need to protect themselves. It's not up to a defensive player to protect the offensive player. Ray, we're going to start with you. Your thoughts on Mr. Brady saying this era is less than.
I mean, hey man, how can you argue? Like, I didn't see one lie. He kind of laid it out, and I mean, it's true. Like I get the safety aspect, but I mean, it's a violent sport, man. It's only but so much you can do. If you want them to be safe, put flags on them. If you don't want to put yourself in peril, then don't play. I hate to I hate to be blunt like that, but it is what it is, man. Like, it's a violent sport. It happens. And he's right. Like, it's gotten to a point where guys don't even know how to tackle anymore because everything's a penalty. So, and then, we just talked about a team that has had a putrid offense for 10 weeks. Like, the rules are basically making it almost impossible to defend. So if you can't even perform offensively when defense is being stripped away, then what are we doing here? But yeah, man. I mean, Tom's been around for quite some time. He's seen that shift happen in real time. He played till he was 44 or something crazy like that. And some of that is due to rule changes. So, I mean, that's firsthand experience talking. So, I mean, if you want to argue with him, then so be it. I'm not going to be the one to do that. But yeah, man, I didn't see anything wrong with what he said.
Wilson.
Hey man, the defense rests. I think Tom laid it out perfectly. And as Ray said, dude was able to play the 40-45. There's a reason for that. He saw it up close. He's not that far removed from being out there watching whatever it is some of these people out here doing. And also goes back to the main thing. You significantly change the sport by handicapping one side. Let's just call it what it is. And then I got to wake up every day and someone tells me how great somebody is where people aren't allowed to do stuff. And then they let you do make-believe stuff for 17 weeks, get to the playoffs, and that crap that we hear for 17 weeks that doesn't matter ends up sending people home every year, on time, every time. Oh, you don't need to run the football in 2023. Get to the playoffs. Somebody's putting hands on somebody else. The person who's never had hands put on them is like guard. The NFL is like, don't call on me. Then they at home complaining. It's just let it be like it's almost as bad as NBA with playoff basketball and regular season basketball. Let it be what it's gonna be. Like what makes the sport fun is both sides can compete. Tom out here telling you off top like they're a handicap. Let them play. And look, man, shout out to Tom for saying what he had to say. And I hope he continues, since he has nothing but time right now, continue to put pressure on the league because it's your Tom Brady. They can't just ignore you coming out here saying stuff. They can't. They can pretend, but they can't. Like, hope you go on a freaking crusade or something. Let defense matter in football. Again, yes, player safety should be taken in consideration, but don't tell me about player safety while adding a 17th week without a second bye week. You got to make up your mind. Please keep it consistent. If you care, you care. If you don't care, then don't care. But we're not dumb. We're watching you. Like the 17th week makes you more money. That's great. But the players can't have a second bye week so they can take a deep breath and, I don't know, survive the season. But shout out to Tom.
I'll tell you.
So the petty side of me is I love the message. I hate the messenger, though. It's just love the message. Hate the messenger. Tom, come on, bruh. You're part of the reason why we're here. A lot of those rules were implemented for you, Tom. So love the message. I get it. He's Tom Brady. He can say these things. He is stating facts. But baby, you benefited from a lot of that. So let's be 100% real when it comes down to it. Y'all all just said he played till he was 45 or whatever, 50, whatever. Now, granted, I know a lot of it changed over time because he's had such a long career. He's seen both sides of it, but I'm pretty sure a lot of these rules was put in for you, specifically because you were the face of the league for a very long time, and they would not want you not to play in the game. Those last couple of years, baby, you was running for your life, and that was with them protecting you. Now, granted, you knew it was your time to bow out, so I give you props for that. But the message behind it, I agree with. It's definitely very difficult for the defensive side of the ball to play. They expect these players to run out there and be gassed up and be ready to go. And as soon as, you're a half second off from him and releasing the ball, they're supposed to be able to stop midair and not fall on somebody. I personally have been a witness and very angry about it these last 2 weeks because we've gotten a lot of bogus roughing the passer calls these last couple of weeks as well. I mean, got one last night on Patrick, and I'm like, bro, come on, like he plucked him, like come on. So it's tough, and it's hard. But yeah, I know Tom. He definitely should continue to speak because he's Tom. But he does have some things he needs to do. He needs to also worry about that team he's a part owner in. Worry about finding a coach out there as well. And worrying about teaching those people out there as well, because y'all are having a rough season as well, sir. So just got to make it all make sense. But I agree with the message. But the petty side of me just had to get that out.
Yeah, I was gonna say that. I'll tell you, I totally agree. Tom, it was a lot of plays where guys would just fall near you. You would just lift your leg up and penalty that you just see a flag come out of nowhere, or he would complain. Like it's ridiculous, man. It's similar to what we're seeing on the NBA side of things, man. It's just the rules have changed to benefit, the face of the league, so they can extend their career and they can keep making money off of it. We all know what it is. But at least Tom being real about it, like you said, had they allowed real football to continue, Brady wouldn't have made it. He wouldn't have made it as long as and that's why it's hard for me to give him that crown as the best ever, because I saw what Joe did in that era where it was just the highest level of violence. You know what I mean? And he had one of them violent dudes on the defensive side of the ball, where a lot of receivers today who do a lot of talking and stuff, I don't think they may not even be talking the same. They might their speech and motor skills would be jacked up because he would have fucked them up. You see what I'm saying? It's just how it goes, man. And like that's real football to me. They took that away. I like offense and stuff, but I also as much enjoy seeing the 2000 Ravens dominate, where it seemed like they stole every team's playbook and then they couldn't do nothing because they were that dominant. I love seeing that. It's competition. I enjoy seeing the Rams and Randy Moss putting up 30, 40 points and stuff and all that against real defenses. But I also enjoyed the chess match between the Colts with Peyton Manning and Edgerrin James and those boys against Ray Lewis and Ed Reed and those. And it was just an ultimate chess match. To me, that's the highest level of football, because if you ain't know what you was doing, you couldn't play in that game. I don't care how physically gifted you were. I enjoy all those aspects of the game, and I just feel like too many of these suits have hijacked this game to the point where it's not even as fun to watch. It's just not, man. And when they need to just leave it alone, it was fine the way it was. You don't need to change something. It's like some people get new jobs, they come in these new positions, and they got to make their mark. How about you just make the mark and don't? Sometimes making a mark is just not effing it up. Just sit there, manage it, enjoy your life, get your check, and just let it keep going, man. I really hope they bring it back, man. Because the league suffer. Kareem from my Broncos, he just got suspended for 4 games, and I'm looking at the hits. I'm just like, he's leading with his shoulder. He can't help his helmet. It's the same stuff, but these are hits back in the day that when he had registered. He got a pat on the helmet, good play. That's what you're supposed to do. Dislodge the ball if you can from this guy. Stop the play. And they can't even do that. You know what I'm saying? So, and he brought up Ronnie Lott and all those guys. We had one of those guys on my Broncos, Steve Atwater. I don't know what he would have did. I worry. Man, if he was playing out, I would worry. Because I'm like, man, I don't know if you could play in the NFL. Because he damn sure would have, or he would have been a broke-ass player. Because they would have fined the hell out of him. You know what I'm saying? So, that's part of football, the intimidation factor. If I'm a wide receiver and I'm going across the middle, I know you can't hit me like that. I'm going to be a little bit more brave and stick my chest out there more and catch more balls. But if I know it's a Ronnie Lott or Jack Tatum Pryor or Steve Atwater right there in the area, you might short on that thing a little bit. You know what I'm saying? You're not quite sure, especially if you got a bum quarterback who don't know where to put it at. You ain't gonna be. I'm not putting my career on the line, dog. You see what I'm saying? And what Arteta was speaking about earlier, you don't even have that, and you got receivers on the Chiefs dropping balls left and right for the best quarterback in the game. Proving Tom's point. But hey, man, who am I, man? I'm not. That's not my lane, man. This is the greatest collection of athletes we ever seen, man. So that's what I'm told constantly. So yeah, man, it is what it is. But we shall move on to the last question of the day. We're going to go on the NBA side. The Detroit Pistons. We talking about the Wizards, but it's a franchise that's struggling their own. They've dropped 11 straight in our bottom 5 in the NBA net rating. Nobody expecting the rebuilding Pistons to be, good, playoff run, but they have been worse than expected and worse than fans are optimistically hope for. Cade Cunningham, who's averaging 21 points and 7.1 assists a game, has been very inefficient. And he's also frustrated and let it out after a 142-113 crushing at the hands of the Raptors. Quote, we got to be realistic about the situation. It's hard to just be like, we're good. You know what I'm saying? Because we're bad. We have to address that. We have to address that we're not good at what we're not good at. Address it with not only our words, but on the court, in the huddles. At the top of the list of things that need to be addressed is the team's competitiveness night after night, Cunningham said. Unacceptable. We're the youngest team in the league, scrapping and clawing for everything. That should be the last thing that needs to be asked of us or talked about, how hard we're competing. That should be a given. When we wake up in the morning, we should be like, we got to get to the court. Head coach Monty Williams shouldn't have to ask about our competitive level. That's something me and Isaiah Stewart are also trying to stay vocal about. Everyone has to come with it. Man, Wilson, we want to start with you. One, it's refreshing to hear a player take accountability, unlike what we heard from here the other day, blaming DC area fans. But we're not going to go back on that. Just what are your thoughts on, their star, holding them, the players accountable, and demand a change?
I think that everything you listen to talking about where they are, bottom five and everything else, that right there gives me like not a silver lining, but one, it's refreshing. And two, that's your best player right now, right? They don't want to be there. And we've been here for a while watching different iterations of teams here, the NBA team here, where folks didn't want to have conversations, wouldn't talk about the things that need to be talked about out loud or what have you. This is a baby out here saying it. It's a super young team, as you mentioned. So for him and Stu to make sure that's clear, for them to understand that coach shouldn't be demanding that from us is great to hear. One, it's an issue, but two, I'm not too shocked because it's the day and age that we're in. It's the day, it's where we are in this league and not too shocked about it. This is also the reason, go back to that old conversation again. Some of those old people just keep yelling, get off the lawn or whatever. It's why it's still good to have vets on teams, man. There's still value in that. But yeah, it's refreshing to hear that they know. Like there's veteran teams with more talent that don't know what the issue is and just walking around just aloof is the word I'm going to use for how they're walking around because I'm not trying to be a bad person today. I'm anxious to see them get better. It was a team I was excited to watch going into this season because of the youth and the direction that they're going in. I hope that all the young guys there understand that all y'all don't have to be there. I think Kay to be fine, Stu will be fine. Those that understand what those that share these two messaging or mindset, they'll be there. Everybody else, you don't have to be there. Like y'all tripping. You don't have to be there at all. Like you're Detroit. Nobody's job's guaranteed here, but it's refreshing to hear, the guy on the team say it, and that some of the youngsters get it. Now it makes us to see everyone that gets on board, or what happens to those that get on board and those that don't. But it's definitely refreshing.
I'll tell you.
Yeah, it's like Wilson said, it's refreshing to hear them actually come out and say it. And, that's definitely something I feel like I slightly worried about when thinking about them because they have so many young players. There's not really that quintessential vet there to be that driving force, but it's nice to hear, Cade, as young as he is, trying to, galvanize them. And, from reading the article saying that, at least there's no friction in the locker room. So they're trying to keep everybody connected and engaged. But yeah, he's 100% right. Speaking of them being youths, like they should be, energy should not be an issue at all. Like you should be wanting to be there. They have, good minds around them. Just looking at this picture, I mean, for Washington's own is in there. So, he not about no slightness. So I can only imagine how Jared feels about it. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely not a good look, especially with the youth talent that they have. With who they got. I don't even remember which twin it is, but Asir or Amen, whichever one it is. Asir, they have him, Jaden Ivey coming off a good year. And Jaden Ivey has a prolific background with his mom, who's a hell of a coach. So, he should know what's expected as well, because we know Nail don't be playing that neither in Notre Dame. And all of the players that he's growing up around as well. So, they have the fortitude. It's just, when is it going to kick in? I mean, it's definitely tough being a young team. Detroit has been bad for a long time. So it's definitely hard. I feel like, trying to get the stench off of the franchise. And it's got to be frustrating for them, being young players. And all being used to being, the guy, winning games, not really having to, for lack of a better term, suffer through something like this for most of them. But yeah, they got to get it together. The good thing is there's no way but up from here. I hope it don't get no worse. But it's nice to hear him, being brutally honest, blunt with it, and saying that they have some things that they need to change, and that it shouldn't start at the coach. It should start within each player on that team.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because last year one of the things about the Pistons were they were young and scrappy.
Yeah.
And it's just wild to see how that has changed over the course of the season. But yeah, it's definitely refreshing to hear a player actually take ownership of what goes on the court. Who would have thought that players are responsible for what happens during the game? But yeah, man, it just kind of tells you what the state of basketball is when you have to ask NBA players to compete. Like that's crazy to me. But yeah, man, at least that's a conversation being had from from the top dog on the team. We saw a situation here where a couple years ago with Spencer Dinwiddie. He said, he tried to speak up on some things that that weren't conducive to winning. But he wasn't the guy on the team. That message, it's got to come from the top to be effective. In most cases. So it's good that Cade is leading that charge. But yeah, man, they got to get it together, man. These guys aren't even old enough to have graduated college yet. They need to be out there like in the gym 24 hours a day, and competing and playing with high energy shouldn't be a problem. You need to walk in the gym with that, execution and knowledge of the situation and things like that. You can work on that, but the effort is 100% up to you as a player. And for that to be in question, it just speaks to why they're in the position they're in.
Yeah, three things. We're gonna get out of here. They're 20th in field goal percentage, 46.3%. 19th in 3-point percentage, 35.2, and then 26th in points per game at 109.5. But last time I'm looking at the numbers, they give up 115.9, which is 22nd in the NBA, and their defensive rating is 23rd. They can't score and they can't get stops. That's the 11-game winning streak. They got to find an identity. This is why you see a lot of older NBA guys recently retired or long time retired. You need vets on the roster, man. You just do. I'm looking on the team. The player with the most experience is Alec Burks, and he has 12 years, but he's not the guy. The majority of the team are within their rookie year or within their first 3 years. Like it's a young, super young team, but it's really no excuse because. But you need vets. You need guys that been there and all that. Because to me, that's the difference between them and what I'm seeing the emergence with Houston, with Van Vliet and Dylan Brooks and those guys down there. Coming in, and you could tell y'all youngers, y'all gonna grow quick. Van Vliet got a ring. Say what you want about Dylan Brooks. He's been in playoff wars, man. He competes. I mean, if it's one thing you gonna always give him, he gonna show up and compete. You know what I'm saying? That's a skill in itself. To come and show up night after night and do that, man. And the youngest, sometimes when you're young, you can take that for granted because you don't have that perspective. You may not even have a family yet where if I don't do my job, how am I gonna feed my family? You just short sighted based on the here and now, especially with social media. It just really just made a lot of youngers delusional about a lot of things, man. They don't realize how quick things can flip and how quick you can be up out of there. Like, look, there's a player on that team that was the second pick, and he don't show signs. He might be out there leaving. That's James Wiseman. You see what I'm saying? That wasn't too long ago. That was just a few years ago. It's real. It's real. Like I said, you look at Houston by comparison. Dylan Brooks get over there. He forces the franchise to have to put their first round pick in the G League just to get reps. That should tell you about the state of their team, where our first round pick can't even get on the floor right now, Cam Whitmore, because there's no room for him. Because we added these veterans, and obviously they're better right now. We got the youngest who's still developing. They got to get minutes that are ahead of him that's been in the league. He got to show and prove. He got to get reps. He ain't there yet. So they have a lot of work to do, and it's a shame because they got talent. You can look them down the roster, and there's some vets that's been out, like Joe Harris. He's been out for a minute. I'm just they need Bogdanovich. You know what I'm saying? They need him. That's another one. They need those guys to really show them the ropes, and you know what I'm saying. And it just goes to show you how tough the NBA is, man. Because all these guys are like top ranked high school dudes, public college guys, and all that. Lottery picks, this and that, and they get in the league, and it's just like, who? Where happened? That's how quick it can change, man. It just shows you how tough the league is, man. And I hope that a lot of youngins are watching, man, because it goes back to the Tom Brady thing. They're getting coached wrong at a young age. They get told a lot of BS by a lot of people that don't have a clue about what the hell they're talking about. That just don't understand the little intricacies and the details of the game because they never been in it. I'm not even sure if a lot of these dudes, you know, even did anything in high school with their coaches. They're grassroots coaches. They're mentors. They're street agents. It's a lot of stuff, and their minds are warped. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, and when they get in the league, it's like, wow, like I'm not that dude no more. You know what I'm saying? And that's the hard reality they got to face. Like the league is real, and I'm gonna leave it on this. It's something that in my mind. I was watching the game with the Wizards, and it kind of just brings everything together. When I'm saying that these youngins have a lot to learn, you need vets to help you speed up that learning curve so you can start to win. And that's what you kind of see in Houston going on. Last night, I'm seeing Giannis treat Gafford like damn near, why are you in the league, right? But then over the summer, I saw Gafford in the Brunson League, and he was looking like Shaq out there. But you notice a lot of those guys feel like they can just jump in the league and do what they want. And I'm like, my man, Gafford was looking like Shaq against y'all, but against Giannis, it was bad. It was bad. So I just think when you this far behind in experience and know-how, you have no choice but to play hard to close that gap to even be in position to compete and possibly win. When you don't play as hard as you can and you don't have the know-how, you get this, man. And it is really no excuse because none of these guys have really proven anything for them to not bring it. And they got their work cut out for them. What can I say? Monty and Jack and all those guys, Troy. Look. And it's a short leash up in the front office, though, and they probably starting to look at him, too. So I love the DMV connection and all that, man, but I hope they start winning games, man, because, yeah, it can get real soon.
No, the business is the business. It stops for no one. But, yeah, like you said, hopefully Detroit figures it out. And it's getting to be about that time for several teams around the league early on because of their starts. And, Detroit has company. I think that's the kindest way I can say that. Detroit definitely has company. And, some of the conversations people were having about maybe people being moved later in the year. You know what I'm saying? Well, we'll see what it looks like because bro, life comes at you fast. You like 10, 11 games, bro. Like
Chicago, Charlotte.
Like, you know me, I'm missing hit the big red button. Bro, that dashboard, hey, my switchboard is flashing right now for a couple different teams. So we'll see who ends up turning out to be the MLB route, aka farm team of talent for some other franchises. But like some nasty sample sizes to start the year. Want to thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate y'all. We'll see y'all several of y'all later this week for Wizards Outlook. As always, hope you all have a great holiday. And then don't forget Wednesday mornings as early as 9 a.m. on Roku. All you got to do is type in the Focus TV in the search box, double tap OK on the remote, and you've added our channel. Don't forget to get over to thefocustv.com as well. Y'all have a great week.